ChatGPT using one of my very favorite labs, and that's doing cost volume profit analysis. I'm not sure why I like it so much. I think it's just because it's perfectly situated for what ChatGPT can do. But to start, let's go ahead and announce the question, make sure we specify it carefully, and that is, how does profit change as unit price, unit sold, unit variable cost, or total fixed cost change? And so to do that, let's go ahead and get started. To do so, we could either type in start a new chat or just click on the new chat icon, and that just kind of clears everything, so we're all set. So once we've done that, there is no data to input. You would, if you did, you would input it right here to upload files, but we're not going to do that today. So we're going to make up our own scenario, but usually I'd like to work with ChatGPT and say, hey, I'd like to do something, I'd like your help. And sometimes that kind of clues it in to what we want to do. Now, I need to say something carefully about this sensitivity analysis. Sensitivity analysis to me is a prescriptive analytics technique which just allows us to change assumptions. So rarely is anything exact. And so we often need to say, hey, what would happen if the sales price changed, or the number we sold changes, or the costs change due to tariffs or supply chain issues or a pandemic or something like that. But here we're setting up and saying, hey, I'd like to do this cost volume profit analysis, and that in and of itself is a sensitivity analysis, again, as a prescriptive analytics technique. So I'm working with ChatGPT and saying, how do I do this? So I'm going to go ahead and enter this, and it says, hey, that's great if you want to do that. I've seen that before. First of all, you need to define the base case. So where are you starting from? And so the 4 items we need to provide are the sales price, the units sold, the variable cost per unit, total fixed cost, and it will apply this profit formula. Now, I will always check that profit formula to make sure it's what I believe. If you happen to be an accountant, the price less variable cost would be your contribution margin times the number you sell less total fixed costs, and that just kind of goes consistent with these. And so you can see in that scenario we'd get this answer, and we'd be able to provide that. Now, this isn't my scenario that I provided. It just kind of came up with a base one, but it's telling me you need to find a base case, and then you need to say, okay, which of these variables are going to change? You can either provide a range, you can say go up, go down by 1% or by $1, and that's the variables you can change. And then it's going to create a data table, and this data table is going to say, based on various changes in sales volume or price or costs, the profits are going to be different. So we're asking it to compute a profit based on various assumptions, okay? And so this is an example scenario of what it would provide, so very detailed here, and it's done that for us, but this isn't my base case, and so I'd like to go ahead and provide it with a base case. And the base case that we've chosen for this particular lab is, and notice I'm using these words so it knows exactly what I'm talking about, the base case, how many units sold, what the sales price is, what the per unit variable cost. You'll notice I'm very specific about unit versus total variable costs. And then total, in this case, fixed cost for the whole scenario is $2,000. And I wanted to calculate the profit based on this scenario. And so I'm going to go ahead and enter that, and it's going to come up with an answer for me of what the profit is based on this specific base scenario. From there, once we have that answer, we're going to go ahead and change a few items, make some different assumptions, and we're going to say, how would that affect profits? And this says, hey, if the profit base scenario, and it again provides the base scenario, says the profit would be $10,000. And so that's the base case. That checks out with our instructions that are provided, and feel free to look down in the notes to get the specific instructions. But now I want to allow a few things to vary. And so I'm going to specifically allow the sales price to vary between 10 and 20. You'll see that works around the 15. And unit variable cost between 6 and 12. Now I didn't need to provide, anything here. I could pronounce something crazy and it would still come up with an answer. But this is the scenario and the assumption. So it could be anywhere between $10 or $20 for the sales price. And the unit variable cost could be 6 or as high as 12. And I'm saying based on that, I'm going to leave total costs the same. I'm going to change the number of units sold and keep that the same. And so I'm just going to go and do that. So it's going to provide what I call a data table. And that's what Excel calls it, is a data table. And Tableau and Power BI would be called varying parameters. And you could see how that might affect. But here it's going to give me a table, and it's going to tell me how it might vary. So notice, first I'm not changing sales price. It's 10, but the variable cost is changing. And if the variable cost changes, if the sales price is 10 and the variable cost is 10, then per unit I'm not making any money, and it's just going to be the loss on the fixed cost. And you can kind of see these various scenarios, all the way from $10 to $20, and you can see those scenarios. So $20 but a very low variable cost will give me a fairly handsome profit. Okay, so this is one way to communicate it. I actually like to communicate it in terms of a heat map, and this is starting to get into the tell the story, the report the results, the share the story component. But I'm just saying, hey, what you just did in terms of the sensitivity analysis, now do it in terms of a heat map, where the hue changes, so it gets darker or lighter, or the colors change based on, in this case, based on profit, because the output is profit. The inputs are sales price, sales volume, unit variable cost, and total fixed cost. So you can kind of see how that is. Now, as an accountant, I prefer green to be the most positive, but that's not what it shows here. I can work with it and try to get it to change. But I can see the best case scenario is when the sales price is the highest, the 20, and the variable cost, unit variable cost, is 6. And so you can see the biggest payoff there. And so now I'm able to look at all the scenarios at once, and the visualization helps me kind of see the trends of where it's going. Now, in this case, for example, if the variable cost is 12, but I'm selling it for 10, hey, I'm losing money. That'd probably not be where I want to operate. I need to see if there's anything else I can do. So to complete this lab, all I really need to do is, I like to output the key visualization provided. I usually ask it to do a file, but I could copy and paste this right off the screen, but I'm going to ask it to put it in a PNG file. And then finally, I'm going to ask it to put the prompts, and the prompts are the instructions that I provided. And I like to see those. I can save that with the scenario because, for example, if I had this heat map and I output it, I wouldn't necessarily know what total fixed costs were or what sales volume was. And so I kind of want to know where I started at to be able to provide that. So now it has regenerated this map and provided, a link to download it, and so it'll be there in my downloads folder. And so that's provided. The last thing I wanted to do is go ahead and provide the prompts. I could either just have it output it to the screen, or output it to, in this case, a Microsoft Word file or just a text file, and it will just provide those. So that completes the lab, I guess, as soon as it completes the output. And so here's the file that was created, and once again I can click on it and just provide that. Maybe the last thing I'd show is that anything we ask it to do, there's this little symbol here, and that is the Python code. So it's not like it's completely black, we call it black box, where we don't know what happened. This still tells specifically what it's done, and you can see the prompts in here of the prompts that I provided. Now it's just going to say, okay, now I'm going to output it. Here's the file name. And so that just provides that. So I'm able to download this file and go and grab it, and then I have completed the lab.